Hi everyone, Chels Daft here, and I've just finished my live match commentary for the game against Leicester. Leicester 2, Chelsea 0. I've just finished an immediate match reaction chat, seeing what people are saying about Frank Lampard, this and the performance itself. And I wasn't going to do a video, but I'm going to do a video now just to try and sort of make sense of what's happening and what's going on, and to talk about my own personal feelings, because in the chat and on the streams, obviously you're trying to read out the opinions of others. So I've got a feeling that it's crunch time for many reasons, and not necessarily for Frank Lampard being sacked. I think it's crunch time for the relationship between Frank and the players. Certain members of them, I don't know who they are, but they're being called out and they need to respond. And I've got a sick feeling in my stomach. I don't like it. Let's get into this. So I'm just going to do this and talk as it's coming into my head. I've got nothing planned. But what I want to do, for any Leicester City fans watching this, they are top of the league tonight, Leicester. And you have to give them all the credit in the world. They are a well-organised, disciplined, good, strong team that's going to be up there challenging for top four. Right now, Leicester are here. We are here. As far as playing as a team is concerned, they're a mile away from where we are, and you have to give them credit. Every time Chelsea got the ball, the two centre halves in our own half looking for an option, they had all 11 players behind the ball. Now they play the 4-1-4-1 formation, something we maybe could look at. Some people argue it's a 4-3-3, but it's mainly a 4-1-4-1. Vardy is normally the main, just up there by himself, with the two wide players in the four behind him, working backwards as well as forwards. They were in their defensive shape, and it made Chelsea's life difficult to try and pass the ball to them. Just to try and pass it through them even. I'm not even going to cut this video. I'm just going to say as I'm feeling. And it was a real struggle for Chelsea to break this team down today. And you've got to give them credit, Leicester. So enough of that. They're top of the league. Great side. Brendan Rodgers' first victory over Chelsea in 16 attempts. And they deserve all the plaudits. They did well. As far as Chelsea's concerned, I've got a real sick feeling in my stomach, because you can see that I think the only way you can really describe it is woeful in every way. For me, there's only a couple of players that come out of that game with their head held high. Mason Mount for his work rate, who doesn't stop. You can see his frustrations. Kovacic keeps going. Havertz was busy. Nothing more. I think Thiago Silva was solid enough. The two goals. First goal, you can't do nothing about that. Deflection out of the box to the edge. And Didi, a left foot swinger, and it goes in off the inside of the post and in. No one's going to stop it. But the second goal you can. And Rudiger has to come across to cover Vardy. Reece James switches off. They're in behind Maddison, and he scores. We completely switched off individual errors. So I'd actually say Silva and Rudiger were decent. They didn't do too bad. But as for everybody else, it's just frustrating. I'm just going to talk to you and tell you what I see. I did a live match commentary on my channel, and have a look at it and just flick through at different times and see what it's like, and hopefully get involved next time. But what I've seen in that game today, first and foremost, we can't break teams down that defend with numbers behind the ball. And the reason we can't do that is there's no movement. There's too many players there back to goal. There's not players that are trying to make runs in behind when the game's condensed. We tried to do it a couple of times in the first half with balls over the top, with Pulisic running in behind, but all of a sudden it just stopped. If you're playing against a team which is trying to negate the space in front of them, like the defensive unit of Leicester, the back four, and then looking for Ndidi and the midfield four to stop the space in front of the back four, what about what's in behind them? Why can't you play that long ball over the top? Why can't you put Timo Werner in from the start and use his pace? It's a question. It's an answer to a situation that we're being faced with time and time again, and we can't break them down. We did against Fulham, Didn't today, got nowhere near it today. We did it different times. In the first half, little 1-2 balls flicking off one player to the other and getting in behind. It worked well. Didn't get nothing from it though. Second half, we didn't see enough of it. But when you do that, when they're condensing the space in front of their back four and looking in that space, when you get runners in behind and you play them in, you're then giving them no choice but to look behind them and to try and deal with the threat that would be, could be, and hopefully will be behind them. So whereas they go to push up and condense the space, they might sort of drop off if they're worried about the running in behind. And it then creates more space between the defence and the midfield and Vardy, and then that's when you get little pockets inside. Another problem for me was when we did have possession and we moved the ball wide, the two wingers, Christian Pulisic and today Callum Hudson-Odoi, were coming off the byline and coming inside to an already condensed midfield area. Now, if you then couple the fact that the fullbacks are asked to go forward, if they step off, come into the middle of the pitch, they go beyond them down the wing. We've got two fullbacks that go forward at the same time as each other, leaving the two centre-backs exposed. And then if our midfield is trying to support play and push on, it's easy for the opposition, as with Leicester today, to break down the play, win the ball back, play it into Maddison, who's in behind our midfield, and Maddison's got the freedom to run at our defence. And we're tracking back, we're trying to run back and get bodies back. It's a basic understanding of the game. Any manager will tell you from junior football through to if you play football on Saturdays, Sundays, midweek, whatever, 11-a-side football, as part of a team, if you're playing as a left back, if the right back goes forward, just tuck in. Sit next to the centre-backs or just in front of them. So you've got protection. If Chilwell goes, Reece James sit. You know, have the intelligence, have the know-how and the wherewithal to say, right, Hakim Ziyech, if Chilwell goes down the left-hand side, I'm going to ask Reece James just to sit. Maybe 10 yards in front of the two centre-backs, not necessarily standing next to him, but just 10 yards in front of the two centre-backs. So he's not going to go forward. So what I want you to do is stay wider, a little bit wider, rather than go in. So if play breaks down and we can't get down that left-hand side and find an out ball, we can move it back into midfield quickly and find you on the wing in space. That's what needs to happen. But at the minute, Chilwell's going forward left side. Our wingers are coming in off the byline. Pulisic in the middle, Hudson-Odoi in the middle. James is going up on the right to support as well. It breaks down and we're being caught. And time again today, Leicester, all they did, they were wise to it. Chelsea pushed the fullbacks forward. As soon as you break the play up, someone go and find the space they've just left, play in behind them, and you're going to have a joy all day long. And they did. It's just so frustrating. And then you're looking at sort of first half, you're 2-0 down, you get to half time, and you're thinking, I've got to chase the game here. And Frank Lampard doesn't chase it. He doesn't make the change. Where the formation's not working. The players on the pitch not working. And changes needed to be made. They weren't made until around 65 minutes into the game. So we'd already wasted 20 minutes of the second half. For me, if you're playing 4-3-3 and they're 4-1-4-1 formations dealing with it easy, you've got to change it. Whether you go 4-2-3-1, whether you go 4-4-2, you've got to change it. Whether you go 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, condense the midfield, and have 2 number 10s behind the striker, you've got to do something to force them into changing the way of their playing. You can influence a team without the ball, and that's what he had to do today, and we didn't do it until it's too late. When we did it, they still sat back with 11 players behind the ball, and it was easy. Tammy didn't have a good game today. Tammy Abraham, I'm not calling him out, but a word of advice from what I see, I haven't played professional football. I've played semi-pro standard, or I've played a level just below semi-pro, I should say, more or less same thing. But he needs to do better up front, holding the ball up. He needs to be an out ball, and we missed Giroud today big time. He needs to use his body, and he didn't do it enough. He was hardly in the game. Timo Werner comes on, hardly in the game. Had a goal disallowed, shirt sleeve offside. You know, Pulisic, just he was denied a penalty. VAR proved it wasn't a penalty, but he made a couple of good runs into, but coming again off the wing into the middle of the pitch, not going down the outside and then coming inside on the byline like you see him do before. I think he did it once or twice, driving outside, but most of the time, easy to defend against. He's going to pick the ball up and come inside. Let's tackle him and deal with him. Same thing with Hudson-Odoi. He wasn't really in the game today, Hudson-Odoi. He did get involved at times, but it's not enough. And then when Hakim Ziyech comes on, the game's already done. And then Ziyech collects the ball and he's got 11 men behind the ball again. And he's trying to find balls in. It's just, there's no interplay. Today, the worrying thing as well was, and it's apologies, I'm not waffling. It's just things coming into my head as I'm doing this video. Today, there's just times where we look so disjointed, we look so disorganised, we looked like headless chickens at times, and that's really poor to say. And something needs to happen. Now, after the game, Frank Lampard has acknowledged the fact it was a bad performance. They're the better team. But I said at the beginning of this video, it's crunch time. And it's crunch time for two reasons. One, the future of Frank Lampard as Chelsea manager. For him and the board, I personally think and hope that he is given the time to turn it around with the players and he gets to keep his job. However, as I said with my sick feeling, he said before the Fulham game, they've had 2 full weeks to work on things they haven't done in pre-season. It's been a really good 2 weeks to get the message through to the players. Based on what he said there, based on that performance tonight, I can understand if he goes. And I hate saying that. I don't ever want to say that. I love Frank Lampard as a player, as a man. I think he's a intelligent, just real sensible bloke. You know, he's decent. He's genuine. And as a manager, he's up and coming. And he will be a success at some point, whether it's with Chelsea or somebody else. He's going through a tough time. And the only way he's going to learn is to come out of it. Learn from this now as the worst possible situation and try and come out of it. But it's disjointed. There's a disjoint. He's called the players out after the game about not doing the basics right, not playing well enough, no fight. He's told them that, more or less, not word for word, but more or less the general consensus is you go on this big run, 16 games unbeaten, you think, you sort of settle down a bit, you take your foot off it, and today you got smacked around a bit. You got kicked up the backside, and you've got to learn from it. And the second reason it's crunch, as I said, the first reason is Chelsea board and Frank. The second reason it's crunch time is between Frank and the players. He's done a Jose. He's called them out tonight. Their attitude, their fight, their desire, determination, and it's down to them to respond. And the crunch time is whether they want to respond for Frank Lampard and for themselves and for the team. Now, people mentioned player power before. I don't think there's any involved at Chelsea. I don't think there's anybody that would have any player power at Chelsea. The only thing I would say is that Frank has pretty much said it's beyond his control, his future. All he can do is keep working. He knows what it takes, what the demands are of this football club and where we need to be. And we're far from it. And we're nowhere near the title. And that's clear. He's challenged the Chelsea players tonight and called them out. They need to respond. And you hope that they respond in the right way in the coming weeks. We've got Wolves coming up, then Burnley, then Tottenham. Obviously, Luton this weekend. Not so much worried about that unless we go out, which we won't. But Wolves next week, midweek, Burnley, then Tottenham. 3 massive games for Frank Lampard now. Massive, massive games. So that's just it from me. Uncut, unedited, just what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling as it's coming into my head. On my channel, you're going to see the live commentary. As I say, have it if you've never watched one of my commentaries before. Flick through different times, just flick through it, see what it's like and get involved next time in the chat and just get involved. My immediate reaction with chat on there from other guys on the stream is there as well up online on my channel. And there's this video, which is more or less one-to-one, just me talking to you about how I feel. So if you've enjoyed this video, drop a like on it for me. Subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think. of the video and anything you want to make a comment on or discuss in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, but make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss my videos come out. It's going to be horrendous this week on social media and in the press and in the media. Let's just try and grin and bear it and hope that there's no reaction to Frank Lampard's position as Chelsea manager. Some of you might want it to be. I do understand it. I just hope it won't happen. Thanks for watching. See you next time.